Hi, Travis. Hang on. Let me get my earpiece in. I'll turn off the vid in a sec as well, so that's see me.
Ugly chop. Here we go.
Plug that in. There we go. All set up now. Hiya. Good morning. Must be your early morning. It's about my midday. Yeah, it's about 1:30. So I've probably got about 45 minutes, which is good. I'm enough, jump in between different things. Are you streaming this first of all before we before we start, just so I know what's public, what isn't, so forth? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. I just want to check, you know what I mean, because it's always good to know what is being well. I'm going to stay being Toady. Just there's been a lot of drama in the last couple of days, and Toady's fine. Toady's fine. Toady's fine. Yeah. I mean, I could make something up if it makes you feel more comfortable, but Toady's fine. I don't find it, it's not got any associations for me. I've kind of got used to being called that. Yeah, I've got some footage that probably would be quite good to go through, because I suspect that I am coming across a lot of the questions that a lot of people do when they start out, and are relatively inexperienced at doing this. The reason that I bought a camera and started making observations, I mean, other than the fact that I wanted to sort of film the moon and Saturn and other things, with the P900, is that I looked at it for a long. Tell me when we're good.
Hello. What ho? Welcome back to another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. This is From Our Perspective, episode 5. Just get a mic check real quick on everybody. I know that I was muted earlier and you could hear Toady and blah, blah, blah. I hadn't drunk my coffee yet, so, there we go. Toady, say hello and introduce yourself to my audience who might not be familiar with who you are and maybe how we have become acquainted.
Sure, that's fine. That's great, Travis. Hi, everyone. Probably most people might have heard me around a various number of places. So I've kind of been on the scene, sort of, I think, from the start of the year, but probably picked up a lot in April, May, June. Yeah, that kind of time frame. Obviously, I got an interest, very much probably coming from a couple of areas. One is very interested in the debate. I like the debate, and that's why I choose to be in these forums. But that's a sort of quite a civil debate. I'm probably quite well known for not easily getting triggered and not easily swearing. So the two things I don't do in kind of normal life, and certainly not on the internet, though it's very difficult sometimes, right? We all get upset and emotions run high because this is a passionate subject. I'm very interested in first-hand experiences. Yeah, so I recognize the scientific method and everything, but I really like what I call citizen science, which is actually going and looking at things yourself, because I think then you learn a lot about things. And I'm very interested in the debates with reasonable people where we can debate, in the spaces where we can debate, which is why I go on generally Jose's panel, sometimes on Sean G's, I think, and of course, well, here now, talking to Travis, Plain Truth, or the Ether Band, whatever he's calling himself today. Don't you? It popped up on my Skype as the Ether Band. Yeah. You see, yeah. You see, so I thought, who's this Ether Band? Is it sign up for a big group now? I'm going to become a pop star or something. No, I knew who it was immediately, but no, I mean, I'm all in good fun, and we've probably engaged a couple of times on those shows. Obviously, I'm someone who likes to converse at length. Generally, probably bored myself stupid, and recently, as I was telling the Plain Truth earlier, Travis or the Plain Truth, which you prefer? Okay. As I was telling Travis earlier, on this journey, I suppose it was only not quite a full year yet for me. I like first-hand observations. I wanted to take more pictures of the moon and stars and things, so I bought this P900. But actually, one of the other things is to go and actually look at some of these photos. Now, as everyone probably who does know me will have realized, I tend to avoid the picture stuff. I know there was a couple of scenes where I went through with Rumpus and tried to make him honest, because obviously analysis is something that I'm pretty familiar with, not of pictures necessarily, but just analysis in general and that kind of approach. So I wanted to make sure it was honest, but really I've avoided pictures because I always felt that a lot of them were very anomalous, and so therefore they didn't help us to understand these phenomena because there's a lot of effects going on. But I know a lot of people are very interested in them and think they prove various things. So I've gone out now with my P900. I got some footage which we can have a look at in a sec, Travis, and you can probably help me explain it a bit. I'll explain exactly where it is. It's a pretty interesting place. You saw a little bit of it on Jose's if you were there the other day, and a tiny snippet of the great sea creatures that live there, or lake creatures. You didn't see that? Okay. All right, brilliant. So we've got that to go through, and you can have a look at it because it's pretty shocking part of what I'm going to show, that those such things live in the lake, and it's a very famous lake. And so maybe if I start sharing my screen, we can kind of dip into that. Or is there something else that you want to ask before we start? I have, yeah. I mean, it's not going to be that deep, the stuff I'm showing, and I suspect there'll be a lot of obvious mistakes in it, as it were, or mistakes, you know what I mean, misunderstandings. Share screen, right? I forgot about Google Hangouts because these things change. So let's do that. Let me know when you're seeing the screen. You probably are now. So let's open up Dawny. Let's do Control A, and I'm just going to run through a few context pictures quickly. I think that's the one I do. There we go. I don't think anyone's being doxed in this. So this is Dawny Lake. It's a pause that. I always make that mistake. There we go. So this is Dawny Lake. It's very, very famous because the 2012 Olympic rowing was held there in the UK. It's reasonably near to where I live. Certainly not a long journey, not more than an hour. And I picked it because it was a good place I thought to start rather than the coast, which would be a lot further for me to travel to. This was very good in terms of it being very, very long and very, very straight. As you can see, they've built this artificially. And the famous Eton Rowing Club, Eton, the school, you may well have heard of it in the US. It's a very famous school. In the UK, where all sort of David Cameron and Boris Johnson, those type of people went to Eton. So this is their rowing club, and they've got this fantastic lake that's very, very straight. And there it is, from an aerial view. You're going to see in a minute, I'm up this end, actually about here. and I'm looking down to the other end where I send my poor little son down to go and hold some objects and a light and things and see if we can see them, and we'll see what we see in a sec. Here's some rough measurements. There we are. It's about 2 kilometers long in a straight line from the observation points. Here's a bit of context. So I am at point 0 up here, and my little son will be down here at this point down here near the actual rowing club. And just so you guys have got a context, the kind of distances we're talking about. Now, I wasn't expecting, of course, knowing the curve calculator, to see much drop, but I was interested to see what I would see. And indeed, what I saw was inconclusive, but interesting. So let's get through these. This was the other thing I showed on Jose's. So it's got this lovely Dorney Lake fish population. They've got this lovely board as you come in, and it shows you the pike, and it shows you the eels and the bream and all these lovely fish. And then this fella pops up. Now, I don't know if you can see this on the screen. I'll zoom in a little bit. Can you see the little stomping jaws, right? Okay. Exactly. That was really scary. It absolutely put the willies up me when I looked at this lake leech, attaching itself to you. Now, obviously, this is thing comes out of the guy's chest and runs around creating havoc. This thing just looks absolutely disgusting. And so they are teeth. Yeah, they're absolutely teeth. Yeah.
I forgot to unmute again. Even though I got a message from my friend who said we can't hear you when I was just talking right now, I still forgot. So those are teeth right there.
They are teeth. Yeah. So these little suckers.
Oh my
right?
God.
And this latches onto you, and then this latches onto you, and then it sucks, and it like abrades away at your skin with these teeth. I mean, it just what is it? It's a fish tube with no eyes that just feeds. I mean, it's just the most disgusting.
So here's my question. That's a man-made. That's a man-made lake.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And
how on earth did they get in there?
Yeah.
That's a very interesting question as well. That is an interesting question, isn't it? I guess they probably came as larvae on fish that were introduced into the lake.
Sure.
Obviously, Anyway, just thought I'd show it. It's something that shocked me when I was looking at this board. As you can see,
so there's not too many bathers in this lake.
Not too many bathers, but of course there's a lot of rowers who take a dip, right? I mean, it's just horrible, isn't it? I think they're quite small, by the way. There's a magnified picture of it. It's sucking on glass.
Yeah. That doesn't matter to me.
But still, it's just disgusting, isn't it? Anyway, so here's the lake, and I'll skip through all these just so you got a little bit of context. And then let's get into the meat of it, which will be by the way, just very quickly, since we're here, I'll just show you these as well, because it's always nice to see bits of stuff that people have got, and it's amazing when you've got a half decent camera. Now it's not pretty good picture. Here we go. Oh, there we go. So there's absolutely, as you can see, the birds crap all over the landing stages. And as you can see, there's some. I think that's a heron, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
I might be wrong, but I think that's a heron or a shag. It might be a shag rather than a heron. They're very similar.
You have an animal. You have an animal called a shag.
We do, yeah. We have an animal called a shag. Yeah, I think we've also got a black shag as well. But yeah, and then this is a cormorant, I think. By the way, I'm no bird expert.
Yeah, we have those here, I think, in Maryland.
Do you have them too? Yeah, so in a sec, there we go. He comes around and gets a lovely shoulder beak.
Yeah.
So there we go. So there's a nice lot of wildlife there, as you can see. And you get pretty close to the old P900. So it's, as I say, I can see why people love it. And then there's some airplanes I won't show you. So let's get into the main bit. Okay. So I don't really know where to start with these. We'll flip through some of them and then maybe come back and look at the movies. So let's see how I sort this by type. Let's do kind. Okay. And these are all in, and you'll get the gist pretty quickly as we zoom through these pictures, and then we can have a look at what the movies do or don't show, if anything. Right, so let's do this, and then we can flip through some of these. And these are probably, hopefully, in order. So, as you can see, it was used for the Olympics. This is the famous Olympic rowing bit. Obviously, I'm focusing the camera. Now, what I'm doing is, this is at the point that is 2 kilometers down. Okay, I am at the moment, I did measure it exactly. It was, you go back. So I was about 2 meters off the water at this point. So I was on a tripod that was half the tripod, but the tripod was a little bit up the bank. And you'll see a context picture. I've definitely got a context picture somewhere in this lot that shows where this observation was taken from. So what I went to do is 2 types of observation. one at sort of, let's call it eye height, yeah, which is roughly what I was trying to do with the half down tripod just up the bank a little bit. And then I did another one at about 5 centimeters above the water, okay, to see if obviously I could get the effect. These are the higher up pictures as I was trying to zoom in and find where my son was. There's no doxing of him because you won't be able to make out very much of him at this kind of distance. And I'm zooming in, right along the lake here. I'm particularly interested in this thing under the bridge. At the moment at this height, there doesn't seem to be a lot of effects, but we'll get in and judge that in a sec as we go forward. Obviously, that's with the digital zoom on a bit. Again, I don't think we're seeing too much. Go on.
I didn't hear if you said anything yet. Did you do any? Did you get any information on the temperature and anything like that?
A good question of the day. I didn't, but I can go back and find that information.
Now, all things on the table, I could care less. I was just curious in terms of whether or not you did. It doesn't matter to me, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see some effects. Don't worry.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all.
And this is the thing that drove me nuts, because once you start doing these observations yourself, and that's why I think maybe, I don't want to call it my journey, but my experience might be interesting, is there's a whole lot of stuff that when you don't take pictures yourself, it's like armchair people, right? Because I listened to some of those ones where you were sort of debating Rumpus and others, and people saying it's this, that, and the other. I think there's a lot to be said for getting out and starting to actually try and take pictures yourself and observations.
Yeah. The one thing,
different matter, right? Because things that I thought were simple are not simple at all.
Sure. Yeah, I actually asked Dave Marsh. I said, "Look, if I was going to start doing this manually, what kind of a camera should I get?" And he told me what kind of camera I should get. And that thing's like $1,500 plus something else and whatnot. But my point was, why did I make that point? I can't remember why I made that point, except for the fact that the I think the clarity of a manual focus is something that is superior to the P900. And
I agree.
I've got a friend who comes out here, and he's got a telescope, and he showed me. I was looking through my camera. And I was like, oh, man, it's not very clear. He's like, come up here. I'm like, what? That is absolutely clear.
And I think there is a lot to be said for that. And we'll start, I think, even in this video to see those effects, right? Because, as you say, video I found less good, more effects. The manual focus I used on the P9, it's okay, but it's blurry, especially at these kind of lengths we're looking at. Oh, by the way, please pay attention to these boys, or boys, or whatever you call them in American. Yep, these will become very significant a bit later. Okay, so I'll start flicking through, and we'll get to the meat of it soon. Yeah, you'll see the meat of it, but you're getting the context. There's a boat, there's a bridge. I'm about 2 meters, and I can work out the exact height. Yeah, because I know how high I was, and I measured it. And I'd have to go back and look at my notes. Yeah, I haven't got them in front of me, but as I say, 2-ish meters at this point. So I'm zooming in on this boat. There's another context shot. And we'll start zooming. Right now. You notice here, there does seem to start to be some kind of effect. Can you see that they now appear to be on a piece of still water? Can you see in this picture? Can you see here?
You're talking about the buoys?
Yeah. Can you see that? Look, there seems to be an interface here.
It's a very slight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it almost looks like they're reflecting in very still water, doesn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't know yet, right? It looks like, there could be some, an area of still water that's back past, I don't know, this point that's windblown. Maybe. We'll see.
Well, but see, here's part of my point, too, that I think that I've made with looking at things with the naked eye. So if you are looking at it from right here, right where you have it right now, you cannot resolve anything at that line with your eye. You know what I mean? So
with my naked eye.
With your naked eye, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So
I absolutely cannot. I don't know if I could see the buoys. I can't remember. I agree. With the naked eye, you're not resolving that.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's why I call for, at least a little bit more specificity when we speak. I saw a boat go over the curve, or something along those lines, because I just don't think that's possible. Even if I did think that there was a curve, I would say no, you haven't.
Didn't actually see it. Yeah, all right. You were using something enhanced. Anyway, let's keep going because it
Yeah.
starts to get interesting.
Okay.
Looks like there could be a
Sorry.
bit of wobble above this bridge. No, don't worry. Well, it's just I'm limited time, and
I know. Yep.
there's some real meat coming up because I mean this looks pretty mundane, right? Oh look, here we go again. Now again, look, it's starting to look, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are we
Yeah.
starting to get an effect here? I wonder, or is this is this brackish water and a reflection of the boat? Interesting question, but we'll start to see some more. So don't worry, there's some real meat coming up. And that's why I'll go to the video in a sec as well. So I'm trying to get context. Here's my son who's now been sent down. He's going to be over here. What I told him to do is get as far back to the bank where he could see me, then get down to the water level, and he's going to basically put things on top of the water. Okay, that's what his mission was. Should he accept it, which he did because he didn't have any choice. Poor little lad that he is. Yep. So again, here he comes. Can you
I
see
know
him?
I know what he was thinking when he was walking down there, Toady.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see it in a minute exactly what he was thinking when I go to the video. Yep, he was, and now he's walking down, and now he's trying to find a way down, I think, and I'm still getting context photos. Right, here we go. Okay, now, so this is still at head height. He's walking down, as you can see him, down towards the water level. I've drawn this line in because I think there's something interesting going on this line. We've seen it earlier, right?
Yeah.
And we're not down at water level yet. We will be in a sec, and you'll see what happens when we do that. But to me, this line looks suspicious. Okay, it kind of looks like it could be related to the height of something that might be related to curve. By the way, I'm not calling it curve. I'm picking my words very carefully, as you can see. But there does seem to be this line, and there seems this effect. And when I asked him, he said no, the water was not calm here. So,
Right. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure. So
Yeah,
let me ask you just
calm
real.
the mill pond here and rough here. Do you see what I mean? It was all rough.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
go on.
Yep.
Go on.
My question again. Are you lowering your camera incrementally? I'm sorry. Can you restate?
Not yet. You'll see as soon as I do that.
Okay,
you'll see
but
exactly what
so
happens.
here's my question: how are we getting this effect from what you started with? If you go back to the very first image,
I
where we
don't know. I don't know. Other than the wind picked up a bit. But
Okay.
you're right. It's a good question.
okay,
Go
that's
back to
what
what
was throwing me off because I heard you
Yeah.
say that you were still
No,
at
you're
head
right.
height.
If we go back to what I started with, oh no, we're flipped now. You see.
Yeah, you
As
dropped
you can
down
see,
lower.
I've lost where I've gone.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I thought I could just flip back because now you can see what's starting to happen. Yeah, we're into the meat of it. Let's try and get back to where my son
Sure.
was.
Yeah.
You can see all the effects coming up, can't you? I don't want to spoil it. We had a line on the screen, but it's a good point that you raised. Oh, here we are. We're back in the track. So we got to the one with the line on it. Here. Okay. So now he's going to start walking down to the water level. Yep. And I don't know. I've not dropped down yet, and still there's this odd line. Can you see this reflection? Yeah, which could be very calm water, but I don't think it is. I think it's an effect.
Either bad.
Yeah, well, I don't want to use that word, but I'm not so right. So he's getting down to the water level now. Bam. So you can see I changed from head height. Bam.
And that brown smudge there is him.
And this is him. You'll see him some more because and I'll show you the footage, the movie footage. But can you see it? And
Sure.
by the way,
Sure.
these are not 4 or 5 mile observations where we can say this, that, and the other. The only reason I'm going through these is I'm a rational person. I like to analyze this stuff, and I think it's quite interesting.
Can I make a
The
suggestion?
effect that we see. Yep, go on.
Take your mouse to the bow.
Here.
Yeah. You see the greater than sign?
No. Oh, here you mean?
No, in the reflection of the bow itself.
Reflection the bow.
You've got go to the tip of the bow.
Here.
Trace the line down. No, that's not the bow. That's something else that's straight down. There's if you see the bow goes at an
Here
angle,
the bow. Yeah.
and then it comes back out.
Yeah, definitely. And also, look, if we look at it, you can see the wall does this too. Look at this bending.
Right. So my suggestion is
But I think there's 2 effects, Travis. I think there's a stretching effect. And then I don't want to use the word mirroring, but
yep. So just like you did with the buoys, I would put a yellow line across that, and you're gonna cut your son in half.
Yep, it's going to be about here. Yeah, because you can see, look, I think those are his knees actually, maybe. Yep, of his trousers, which I think are white, and right. Let's go to the next picture.
Yep,
We'll see
okay.
a lot. There's plenty. again, this is not a mill pond effect. So you could just look at this very quickly, go, oh yeah, there's a nice bit of calm water there. It's reflecting some stuff. Absolutely not. Yep, there is definitely an enhanced effect now that we're. And by the way, I was virtually touching the water, so literally I'll say 5 centimeters. So center of the camera lens was probably 8 centimeters off the water here.
Okay.
All right, just for context, I really got down. Basically, I had my foot in the water, and then I rested the camera on top of my foot. Yeah, so I got really as close as I could because I was very interested in what they would do. And again, I've got to show you the movie footage because you've got these birds dipping in and out of this band. But again, can you see that?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when it happens. This bird appears from nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we're getting this effect. You know, dare I call it the ether band? I was thinking of your ether band. That's obviously out of focus.
Listen, I'm just happy you said it right now. I put a tick down. I just ticked my paper with your first mention of it. Okay, go ahead.
It's okay. Well, you know, I mean, it's a term, right? It's you know, it's a shorthand for saying a cluster. So for me, what does the ether band mean? Tick number 2. It's a cluster of anomalies that we are seeing when we go out and we take observations, right? For me, and I think there's more than one effect at the moment. It could be multiple, and it's not simple. And anyway, you'll see. By the way, have you noticed anything? Anyone doing spot the difference at the moment? Has anyone noticed anything? Think back to the earlier picture, and now think about this. Anything?
The only thing for me is that there's a little bit more clarity, and your son is higher up on the.
No. I mean, sorry, from the ones that I took at eye level. At 1.5 meters. Anything obvious?
Oh, well, the eye level one, you've got no buoys.
No buoys, exactly.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting, right? Because the buoys are just in front of the boat.
Yeah.
Right? And they've now completely vanished. We're not even seeing the top of the buoys, are we? Right? Which I find very interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And we'll keep going. So now you can see his legs being, you know, he's sort of like, you know, he should be playing basketball for the, you know, whatever, some famous team that plays basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then we go on, and he's dipping down now. And as you can see what I mean by the birds coming out? You see what I mean?
I have this every day. I love watching it.
Yeah, and it's an amazing effect, isn't it? It's wonderful. So I'll skip through these quite quickly. You see the light. So this, we know, is about 2 centimeters off water level. So that light, which he is shining, is the light on his phone, and he's putting it just above a book that's stopping the phone getting splashed because he didn't want to ruin his iPhone. So if you imagine, he's put a book on top of the water, and he's put a phone just above that, if you see what I mean.
All right, so can you go back and clarify what you mean by 2 centimeters? Are you talking about your son's not that low?
My son is down at the water level and has been for all the things you've seen.
No, I understand that, but he's squatting down.
He's squatting down, yeah, and he is putting his phone on top of a book. So the book is just protecting the water from splashing up and ruining his phone.
Go to that image, please, Toady. Okay, so right now it looks like, if I was going to interpret this, it looks like he's sitting on his butt with his knees bent, and the camera is at his knees, but that's not what you're saying.
Yeah, that isn't what's happening. He's actually kneeling down, and in this series of photos, he's dropping the camera down so I can see it, and sometimes I see it and sometimes I don't. So, you know, we'll see the prep, right? I don't know precisely which one he does it, but I agree. It looks like he's reading a book on his knees.
Yeah. So one more point of clarification.
And again, look, this would look like he was... Do you see what I mean? Sorry, so I'll get through them. Hang on, let me find one where... See, look, we don't see it. There we go. There we go. There it is now. That's the one.
Okay, so this one is on water level?
This is definitely water level. So he's kneeling down. Yeah. So what happened was he got his phone and the light out, as you saw. He looked at his phone. You can see it in the whole sequence, right? He got his phone out. He's kneeling. He's not squatting. Like, it looks like he's sitting on his butt, but he's not. He's actually on his knees, if you see what I mean. Yeah, by the water. He's put a book on top of the water, and between his legs, he's dropping the phone down on like top of the book. Do you see what I mean? Because I insisted that he got the light just above the water because I wanted to see where it was.
Yeah.
And by the way, in a series of those photos, you can see I didn't even see it. Look, no light, and then he's moving it around.
Yeah.
And then what I got him to do was started him to move it up in 10 centimeter increments. Yep. So the earlier one where he saw it may well be where he had it maybe 20 centimeters above the water. But as you can see here, this is the lowest one, and you can definitely see the light, which is, by the way, this thing.
And then your level is 8 centimeters, you said?
Mine is 8 centimeters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Good.
we're pretty well opposite, right? And it's very interesting. We're getting this bit here, right?
Yep.
But he's still totally within the distortion zone.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what it proves. I mean, I don't think it proves anything, but it's certainly interesting. And again, you can see, look, it's really stretching that light out.
Yep. Well, it could be movement too in terms of the frame, or the capture.
Could be. Yeah, I agree. Could be. Though I think there's some effect going on here. But you're right. It could be the camera.
Like if you go to the right, if you zoom back in.
Yep.
Put your mouse on the light. All right, now just go straight across to the bridge, right where it starts, and stop right there. So you almost have the similar height of something that's there. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, you mean like you could draw a line about here.
Well, okay, go back to that.
I don't know, but it seems to be stretching down here, Travis, as well, doesn't it? And
No, I know,
look at
but
this
I
funny
think
shape that we're getting this now, this distortion, these grass as well.
Yeah, you can't see my mouse, but my mouse is right on top of yours, and put it right on top of that lighter part, that lighter section,
This
right
bit?
there. Yep. So what I'm saying is that if you just do it like a blink test in terms of the light that your sun is holding, it's not too far off in terms of size, and so that could be stretched as well if the light is being stretched.
Yeah, I see what you mean. If the light's being stretched, this bit could be stretched, this could be stretched, this could be stretched. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And obviously his legs are stretched because that's not in front of his legs. So let's keep going, because it's, again, I just think it's really interesting what starts to happen. Let's see. I think we've now looped, haven't we? Shall I go to the footage? Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, please
We're
yourself.
back now. But hang on, there's no boys. Oh, no, maybe we haven't. No, maybe my son's now vanished and I'm still taking shots, right? Because I'm back at water level here, aren't I? Obviously.
Yeah, I haven't seen
because
these.
the boys.
I haven't seen these ducks before.
Yeah, this is later on. He's now walking back. Do you notice this weird circular effect here? By the way,
Yeah, that is really interesting.
Yeah, we saw that on my son's one. It's there. It's weird, isn't it? It's like it's bending them into the center. Is it the center of the? Is it the center of the lens?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just realizing it could be. Yeah, I'm thinking it could be a drop of water on the lens. Could it?
I don't know. They've.
Because I was very close to the water. Then it would be in the same position, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Because look, there's a line here, isn't there? There's a line here, isn't there? Definitely, there's a line here.
Yeah.
It's definitely, look, you could see that V, as you say. There's definitely a line there. So then, I was trying to get a little bit closer to the ducks to see if they showed us anything. And now we're back, I think, because we're back to the boys. So for the whole of when I went low, the boy band, as it were, disappeared. Excuse the pun, right? Because here you would say, this is fine, it's just a little bit out of focus, but there's no, you wouldn't be saying there's any effect here at the moment, I wouldn't think.
I actually would right there.
Yeah, I mean, there could be, couldn't there?
Right,
well, like floating boy, yeah?
Go to the one right there, drop down.
Mid-air boys, yeah?
Hold
Mid-air
on.
boys, right?
Go to the very left, Toady. No. I'm at the left buoy. Sorry. You have a reflection right there.
Yeah. So I think even at that height, something.
But here's my new discovery for myself as I've been looking at some recent stuff with the temperature difference that's coming about with the fall weather, and that is that right there you have if you can endure my terminology, if you drop down to your sharing bar.
Yeah. Where do I go?
Okay, just put your mouse middle screen. You can zoom back in. I'm sorry. No, zoom back in. And go back to the left buoy. Don't go too far in. Stay right there, please.
Okay.
Okay, so just drop your mouse down a little bit. So when we have different textures in the water, I call it an aqua band, right? So we're looking at different visuals over the surface of the water. and the very lowest one is one tone of color. Where you
Yeah.
have your mouse right now is another tone, and then right above that is another tone, and then right above that is another tone. So
Yeah.
what we have happening right at the water line for the buoy is that water has elevated itself above the reflection line so that we can see it, because if it weren't above that, we would have a straight reflection the entire way.
Mm.
So I have found that very interesting. I caught some yesterday or the day before, and it was absolutely just really, really fascinating to watch it and to watch boats move in and out of it. So if you understand my meaning, then that that line that is just above the reflection of that left buoy,
Yeah.
that has elevated itself into our field of view. And if it was any lower, it would be a reflection.
So what I find odd, I'll take you through my thinking. If I'm coming from the conventional point of view, right, what am I going to claim here? I'm going to go like this, all right. And by the way, I'm parodying it, all right. So don't think I'm actually making this claim, all right. But I'm going to parody it, right. Look, I've got some boys here. They're a certain height. I filmed them. They're sitting on some water. You can see them. I'm at whatever 1.5 meters off the level of the lake. I drop down, and the boys disappear. Curve proven at that distance. Yeah, we know there only should be maybe 16 inches of curve. The boys are probably that kind of height. The boys vanish in the pictures that you see later. Yeah, there's some distortion, but it's gone behind the curve.
Well,
Right.
I would tell you 16 inches of curve you'd need 4 more miles.
Would I? What is it at? What have I got at? So
We
can we
don't we
work
don't
out
need to
what
get bogged we don't need to get bogged down in the mathematics of it, but I just know from shooting at 5.85 miles, there's a 14-foot pavilion that I capture, and so I've crunched the numbers
so
that way.
okay,
So
so hang on, right? That's and I agree with you. I don't want to get bogged down in numbers because we know that doesn't lead anywhere useful. What I think is happening here. So now, shall I tell you what Toady actually thinks? Okay, I think there is already some sort of quote effect. Don't know what it is. There's definitely something going on. This is not just a well-focused picture of some stuff at 2.5 kilometers, which then alters when I drop down. Do you see what I mean? I think already we're seeing with those boys something, aren't we? Because we're at 1.5 meters. Yeah, 1.5 meters. So there shouldn't be much curve if there is at 2 kilometers, right? I don't know what the numbers are, but there shouldn't be much. But we're already seeing whatever, some distortion, some effects, call it what you will. Because these boys already look like they're in a mill pond or floating, whichever you want to say. Okay. Let's go and look at the movies, right? Let's look at the movies because they could be, yep, yep. I think they're less conclusive actually, but let's see them. I might have to scroll through some of them because 2-3 hours. And by the way, look at this picture. Hang on. So can you see here? Right, hang on. Let me open this up. See how still it was. Yeah, and it's really annoying. Look, can you see? I literally am filming it as it changed. Can you see when I started? The lake was like this. Can you see what's happening? Literally, when I started filming, the wind had already started coming in, if that makes sense. So when I arrived before I filmed for an hour, it was all like this. Can you imagine how lovely that would have been? That like, can you see the surface? Yeah. Anyway, so let's see what's on here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Are you hearing the sound from this? Do I need to mute the sound? Or you're not? You don't hear the sound. Fine. Okay, good. So you're not hearing the sound. That's good. I can, but it's just I can ignore it. So what are we doing now? We're at that normal height. We're having a look around. Can you hear anything? Just me talking now, yeah? Oh, you don't hear the video. Okay. So you can see there's already some wavy lines, some effects. Can you see the wave? Can you see how strong it is there? Hang on, let's stop a sec. Did you see the wave already at this distance? Did you see that? All right, I'll play again, yeah, because it looks really strong here, and I guess that might be what's happening by the water. Look, I'll play it again. I'll just play this little bit. Can you see? It's like there's water here. Can you see the wave? and then watch him and watch the railings. Yeah, there we just there. Yeah, watch the railings behind him. By the way, here we go. Right, here we go, and watch the railings behind him. Can you see the railings? I don't know how well it's coming through on the old YouTube, but you know they're really wobbling. They look like they're. That's it, just waving in something. Yeah. So, and I think the interesting thing. Hang on. So then we go in on this bit. I don't know if I zoom in here or not, so I'll let it just quickly run. Ah, look, so we can see our friendly boys. Oh yeah, look, these ducks are vanishing a little bit, but they're probably just behind waves. So we'll skip to the next bit, okay? Because I'm hearing lots of sound on this where I'm giving a voiceover. But so let's go to the next one, and let's have a look. See here. So I'm now right down. Can you see? I'm pretty much on the water here. Okay, and you can see it's. And now we're going into the bridge, and you should start to see that. You know, excuse the camera work. I'm not really used to zooming the. Oh, look, here we go. Look, look, look. You're going to get these lovely. Look at that swan. Look at that bird. Can you see the bird? See that bird that took off that you couldn't see? It's just look at that. Can you see there's a bird there? Look, can you see that bird? It's incredible, right? Yep. Yep. You can see that bird there. It's oh, look, and see that one. We didn't even see him, did we? He was hiding below the water. Exactly. Where'd he come from? Exactly. Where'd he come from? And look, that one dipping his wings. Yep. Exactly. It's yeah, it's really well. Come on, refocus, Toady. Refocus. This obviously wasn't on a tripod, right? It was on my foot, so you know, and it's early days for me. It's really fascinating. Oh, and now we're getting that. We're still seeing that interesting. The boys aren't there, of course. The boys have vanished at this height, which I didn't notice. It's really annoying. And probably you see this as well, Travis. When you go out and you do some observations, you come back and then you notice something.
Oh, sure.
And if you noticed it when you were there, you would have maybe kind of done some other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So had I noticed the boys vanish, what I would have done obviously is done a set of progressive tests.
Yep.
But of course I didn't. It kind of annoys me. At what point did those boys disappear?
Yep. And then go out the next day and see if it's the same. You know, if
exactly.
If the temperature.
And I think that's it. Exactly, and I think probably going back.
Where did that bird come from?
They just look. By the way, at this point in the video, a woman comes down and thinks that I'm being unwell by the water's edge and about to fall in. So I'm just saying to this woman, "Go away, I'm fine. I'm just taking some photos," because it looked like I was hunched over. Because you can imagine I was like hunched, like my son was by the water's edge.
Yeah.
So let's try and see if we can see some of that. So really, you know, as I say, those birds that are coming in and out.
That was great.
Did we get to? I might skip through some of this quite quickly. Oh yeah, right. So there's my son, and as you say, you can imagine what's going through his head. He's running down there, thinking, "Bloody hell! Why does my dad send me down here?" Then let's skip forward a bit. Zooming in on me now. He's slowing down.
Actually, what he's thinking is, "What is my dad gonna say when he finds out?" I believe the. Never mind.
Oh, what was that? Did you see that? Did you see that?
No, go back. I was taking a drink of coffee.
Yeah. Watch. Where was it? There. Did you see it? Did you see that?
Splash. It was a splash.
Yeah. But what the hell is that?
Right. Could have been a fish surfacing, maybe.
Really?
Well, I mean, obviously I don't know, but I've seen it.
Here, see here, look, about here. Look, see?
Sure.
It was big. What?
Well, you know what? There's a bridge right there. Somebody could have thrown a rock down.
Ah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's much more likely. You're right. Yeah, good call, Travis. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have, you know what I mean? If you don't have any of the aquatic life that surfaces and breaches the surface.
Oh, I suppose it could be one of these ducks, actually. Look at those ducks there. See what I mean? It could have been.
It could have been. Yeah. That's true too. Yeah.
It shows it could be behind it. Oh, look, we're getting that whatever that aquaband.
I've got a lot of pixelation on your screen. I'm not really sure what changed. The quality is really grainy.
Right. Is that how it's coming through on the interweb? So
Uh,
I'm probably on a very high zoom. How about my sound? Is it my internet?
your sound with me is absolutely golden, but what
Right.
I'm looking at on my screen is what was.
Okay. Tell you what, let me stop a second. Let's go back because maybe it wasn't focused. What I'm having, and have you got a P900? Is it a P9 that you're using?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way that you can tell me for focusing. Because I tend to find with video, it's really hard to focus. Oh, by the way, we got
Yeah.
our friends, the boys, back. Can you see the boys are back now? The boys are back in town.
Right.
A couple of puns from me there,
Sure.
And I hope I appear well in your parody. I'm really looking forward to this parody. You're really hyped it up now.
It's pretty good. I'm very impressed with it.
Yeah. I hope
Yeah.
Toady comes in and says something suitably stupid or whatever.
No, 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 no. It's just a name drop. It's just a name drop.
Is it? No, no, no. I like that kind of thing, right? It's I like that kind of thing. I've got a good sense of humor, I think, and you know, it's nice to rib people a bit. I like parodies a lot. Okay, so now he's doing the bit where he's got this green book. Can you see he's got like a green book in his hand here? Can you see this green?
I'll take your word
thing?
for it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah.
Now he's sort of now he's moving. Now he's getting his phone out, and now he's putting the book down to protect his phone, and now so that book is touching the water.
So
Hang on.
did you take your stills from the video, or were those stills?
No, my stills were all done separately. I did
Okay.
stills, then I did video, and I got him to repeat it. So can you actually see he's a bit further along the bank because he's behind this first buoy, which you can see. So what I did with the video is this was taken before I went down to water level. Okay, first of all, and secondly, he is Nathan Oakley's show started. There was a lot of drama on that yesterday involving Trish, and then I was kind of bought into it. So I'm trying to avoid that and let things calm down. So it's nice to be on this particular hangout. Because there's a lot going on. I don't know if you'd noticed yesterday.
I have no clue.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. So I'm just trying to calm that stuff down, as is my way. So yeah, if you look, if you remember before, we lost the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now at 1.5 meters. Obviously, it's a lot more grainy than my stills, which obviously I think a better quality, obviously, because they're not moving. And what he's doing is that book is now, as he puts it down, is now touching water level. So we actually know a piece of information that water level is approximately here, I would say.
Got it.
Right. So these boys are really mysterious, aren't they? Because if you just showed someone this picture, I reckon most people say, "Oh, water level's here," I guess, wouldn't they? Who didn't know, right? Most people say, "Oh, yeah, look, you can see the water; it's there." Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's we've got this very interesting area.
Yeah, I walked through this a little bit with my tutorial on the ether band.
Do you?
Yeah, I go through.
Yeah, and look, can you see how much the book's stretching? The book is about this, and look, can you see the green is just
So let me ask you this: Do you know that book is touching the ground right now?
I know that book is touching the water because I was on the telephone to my son.
Okay.
The telephone was on my knee. He had a phone by his knee, and I was talking to him, and I said, "Are you touching the water?" Oh, I don't want to get the book wet. No.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I definitely haven't got the telephone recorded. By the way, I did get him. I haven't got the picture slot for him yet to take some context photos from his end as well, because I think the other question. Not that I'm going to do anything with this other than I'm just chatting to you, Travis, right? Which is very nice to do. I'm not presenting this as some big evidence thing because I don't think it is. It's just me learning, right? But I think if I was doing this again, I would be getting him to do much more context photos. Do you see what I mean? If I was putting together something that I was going to use as quite evidence. So yeah, I know that's now touching the top of the water, and I can see it's been bent down. I think this is firm proof that even at 1.5 meters, there is some effect going on. Call it, what do you call it, ether band or refraction of some sort is going on at this distance.
Well, yeah, don't misunderstand the cause for the effect. So there is refraction, but the refraction is due to the fact that there's a medium there through which it's passing. So,
which is now, here's my question that I put in the little thing to you. Right, we're looking at this. Why the hell is it happening just where I'm filming? Because the world doesn't know I'm going to film just at this point, does it? Do you see what I mean? Why is it happening here? Why isn't it happening in the middle? Or
you'd have to go back and see if it happened again. If it's a constant. It could have been just a temperature differential. Who knows?
But it gobsmacks me that these effects, and I think you're right. I will go back to Dorney and I'll do it again and again, because that will be interesting. But
Oh yeah.
why do we always see these effects at the interface, as it were, like where we're filming, not here where these people are walking, or, as I say, in the middle of the lake here or something? It's really odd. It's always exactly where we're trying to make our observation that we get this.
So Toady, what I would suggest is the next time you go back, take a little bit of time and almost before you go into the bridge itself, just take in as much of what you are seeing again and again and again, and see if those can be added to your observations of contrast. So one of the things that I do is I start on the very left side of where I set up, which is the most proximate shoreline, and I always just start there, and I always just pan and just zoom and just see what comes across the viewfinder.
Okay, so I should try that. You're right. There's some more of that context. By the way, now we're getting interesting, to steal a phrase. The boys have gone. I'm now down at water level. And so this one, probably we should watch this one through, because I've got a feeling this one's going to be quite interesting. Here's the light. You remember the light?
Yep.
There we are. And he's taking the light up and down. And then we're seeing it. And then it's disappearing. And that light, I'm very, very confident, is at water level.
Okay.
Which means that we've still got this band, which was there at 1.5 meters. Oh, did you see the duck just appear and disappear there? And the band also appears to be there at water level. So very interesting that we're getting this. He's just above the water with that light, and we're getting this differential here, which I think is, I'm not going to claim it's curve. It's something, and it's annoying. It's exactly where we would want to make our observation, if you see what I mean.
Well,
and
yeah,
now he's gone. Yeah, gone.
I was just going to say, I don't think that it's a negative. I don't think there are any bad shots. You're getting exactly what you're supposed to capture, and
yeah, I think you're right. And this is what surprised me, because what I expected to do is exactly what I said earlier. I expected to go down, take a shot that was perfect, everything in focus, all good. I mean, how naive am I, right? And this is why you got to do these things in the real world, right? Because then you find out what's there and what's not. No mysterious fish there, so it could be one of these things jumping off.
Now go back right there to your right, because you've got the same. Okay, hold on. So you have no buoys on the left.
Yep.
But you have this right here. These are almost like lampposts into the distance.
Oh, you mean in their line?
Yeah, because look, if you keep going, there's two.
Oh yeah.
There's two.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Look at that.
So
yeah. Can you see it? It's starting to. Is that the curve of the Earth? How exciting!
So that would be. Are those permanent fixtures?
Yeah, you're right. There's even some maybe here, right?
Yep. So you would lower. You would raise your view, lower your view, and see.
Look, the badness or whatever it is.
So here's an interesting question though, Toady. So go to the middle spot right there where there's no marker. Right there. Like, if you could verify that there is no physical break, that like there should be other markers there as well, the question would become, where did they go? Because
why
you have
like that.
Because you
like
have
that.
this. Yep.
Yeah, can you see what I mean? It's almost like that's repeated. Can you see that gap and that gap and that gap and that gap? It's probably just coincidence.
Yeah,
you see what I mean? Like
they're not the same.
One and then a very small one. There's a small one and a very small. It's a bit odd, isn't it? Should we just watch that bit again? Hang on,
Sure.
Let's just watch that bit again, because you're right. I hadn't spotted that. This is why an expert needs to look at it. It's very useful going through this, because again, we're not making any claims. We're not getting hung up on this, that, or the other. No, I'm not. I don't.
And there very well could be a physical gap there, but for right now,
they might have missed a few buoys, right, or whatever. It's really annoying. I didn't do more context there. You're right, because that's quite interesting, that side bit, because you're right, it is like lamppost. I hadn't clocked that. Oh, yeah, that moorhen. Yeah, can you see those moorhens? They're quite interesting as well, because they look like they're on the.
Your video play bar is right in the middle of the view.
Right. I don't know how to move it. Can you move this thing? Oh look.
There you go.
You see, they seem, maybe they're a bit closer. They don't seem affected. Yeah, they're probably closer, aren't they?
Yeah, see, right now, right now I feel like I'm looking at Minecraft because the pixelation is so
Really?
distorted.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so bad. On my screen, by the way, it's quite, if I freeze it, is it still pixelated when you,
Yeah.
yeah, it must be the video quality on the Hangouts.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
It's okay.
So it's pretty clear on mine, right? It's pretty clear on mine. So it's interesting. It must, the stuff that was really clear must come through. This is another thing, isn't it? When we look at these things on the screens that we're looking at them, we're probably not seeing what the person actually filmed either. Do you see what I mean? We've already got an abstraction by going through the net, haven't we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't clocked that either. I assumed it was pretty good because this is in what 1080, and it is pretty clear. Honestly, I mean, obviously, I'm looking at it, and it's pretty clear. Right, I'll skip through that. I don't think there's any more there. I don't think there's any more that side. I think we're nearly there, by the way. We're nearly done. So, you know, thanks for looking through it. I think I found out, well, I've learned a couple of things, which is pretty good.
Well, even that's what I mean in terms of, you know, like you said, that you hadn't seen those other markers on the right, right? So
Yeah.
the next time you go back, you're going to hopefully
Definitely focus on them. Yeah.
Well, but
definitely.
not only that though, what I mean is that you will hopefully see another addition to include in your observations. You know, you're just going to see, like, if you
They look pretty continue. Oh no, could be a gap there, couldn't there? I don't know what you can see on your screen. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I
Can
see it. I see it. Sure. Yeah.
Can you see there might be a gap there?
Yeah.
There might be a gap there. That's, yeah, I don't know if I go in anymore. And look, we're already seeing that. Can you see that?
Sure.
I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
how it is.
yeah, that's
There's
good.
definitely a band there. Let's see if we zoom in on that a bit more. I don't know. Yeah, I go away from it. I thought I would. Yeah, because of course I'm trying to focus on the bridge,
Right.
as you said.
Yeah.
I'm really going to look at those markers because, of course, they're a good visual cue along the side of what I'm seeing, aren't they? Yeah, they are a very good visual cue along the side. I think we're pretty much done. Right. Okay. Inconclusive. Interesting.
Well, how about
Show
this?
some-
How about this? I'm not asking you to say more than you want. I would say that you could make a conclusive statement. You know, in terms of seeing what, I don't even know how to say it. How can I say it? I know that you're saying it's not conclusive. I know why you're saying it, but I want to spin that positively, like I said before, and that is that you've captured some fantastic footage, and you can see that there are observations that have a dynamic. I don't even know how to say it. I mean, yeah, we've talked through it. We've talked through.
So my conclusions with this, it's non-trivial taking these types of observations. So my first statement, I'm sure we could agree on, it's non-trivial, right? Second statement, it did not meet my expectation. My expectation was I was going to go there, as I said. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to take, you know, the standard observations at one height, eye level roughly, or whatever, 1.5 meters. Take those observations. They would be relatively clear. Yeah, those zoomed in, they'd be relatively clear. There wouldn't be many effects at that level. And then I was going to go down and I would get some effect. Now, when I say effect, that doesn't necessarily mean curve, but some things would be hidden and or compressed or whatever, you know, in the ether band, whatever you want to say. What actually happened is there was already effects even at 1.5 meters, yeah, which we could see, definitely. Of course, you have to look for them. You're a casual observer, you might not spot them. And then, of course, when I went down to water level, there was definitely increased effects, and obviously we lost the buoys. I was surprised by that because I wasn't really affecting, you know, at 2.5 kilometers, I wasn't actually expecting much of an effect. And then the test I did with my son with the light above the water, again, clearly shows that there's some significant effect there. I guess we always get to the crux of the matter is what is causing that effect, you know, that makes it look like he's 30 centimeters above the water or whatever, when actually his light is dipping up and down just above the water.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the bit we get. And I guess that's where people argue, well, it's behind the curve and it's refracting up, it's looming or whatever. And other people will argue different things. Yeah. And that's why I think it's nice to start, for me, and that's why I picked this lake, by the way, because it's pretty easy setup to go to as well and get a decent piece of footage at a known distance. Because I think, like I do most things, I like to go about it quite methodically. And if I just went and started filming ships at whatever, 10 miles, 5 miles, you know what I mean? I could kid myself about various things. Yeah. So I think that's why it's nice to learn on something very simple. Yeah.
Well, again, this is where I make the declaration that we don't have to shoot over 20 miles to get effects. And I think that is very telling, that if we can get some dynamic effects at 2 miles or whatever your 2 kilometers, at 2 kilometers, and we see some interesting dynamics going on, that to me helps us be able to extrapolate out to farther distances to understand if this is like that, So
yes, I totally agree with that. I agree with. I know we'll differ on
Sure.
ultimate goals, right? I know that, and that's why we're trying to tread around that, because it doesn't matter that we differ in our opinions. We can absolutely agree that even short distances, there are definitely these effects, which I think really complicate the story of what could be going on. And it really bugs me, and I still, in my head, maybe I'll have an epiphany as I do more of this, why it should be at the point we want to look. Do you see what I mean? It's almost like someone's deliberately putting these effects.
Well, yeah, but see, that's what I find interesting, is that if you're looking down that lake with your naked eye, you don't know that dynamic exists
at all. I could be there all day long with my naked eye.
You have no idea that's going. It's almost like being underwater. You don't know what the fish are doing. You can't see them. And then if you put your face underwater with a mask on, all of a sudden it's a whole new world. So there is that dynamic. It's always going on. It's always going. That's why I was absolutely blown away the first time I caught my birds on the Chesapeake, when I was waiting for the sunrise, and I zoomed in, and all of a sudden I see this line of birds that I couldn't see with my naked eye, and I was sitting there thinking, no one else is seeing what I'm seeing right now. I am the only one. This was like just for me, But it's always there. It's always there. We just can't see it because we aren't able to zoom in unless we have an instrument.
And so, being a hardened matador, I suppose, what drew you? Do you still go on the Nathan Oakley show? What moved you away more from that?
Well, okay, so I cannot multitask except if I'm driving and talking. But if I'm trying to get ready for work or whatnot, and I was talking with you, I would be talking with you and not getting ready for work. I just can't. And so there just became a point at which I had to say, okay, I'm not gonna get distracted at this particular time of the morning, and that's when his show is on. I'm not going to disparage. I've made public announcements in terms of how I feel about his show in particular, and his personality.
I'm not looking. By the way, that's not my intention.
No, I know, but that's all part of it. That's all part of it. I mean, there's only so much of that presentation that I can take. You know what I mean? It's only amusing for a little bit. I that's not my personality. I'm not that abrasive. So that's all part of it.
Because what I'm interested in is, when talking to someone who's got a certain kind of mindset, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that, by the way, and that's not a judgment. That's not a snide. Sometimes I hear myself and I think it sounds snide, right? And it isn't meant like that. I genuinely mean it. Because you know what I mean? You can be sarcastic and say those words, and actually it's an insult, right? And so I'm deliberately making the statement that isn't my intent, even if it sounds like that. Do you see what I mean?
Sure.
Because it can be inverted snobs or whatever, right? And snide, And by the way, I do that sometimes. This isn't one of those occasions, yeah? So I genuinely mean that someone who's got a mindset that interests me, sees the world a bit differently. And by the way, I can see absolutely why, through these observations, you might have a view. Absolutely. I don't agree with it, but I can absolutely see it's a coherent.
Well, that's the good part about it, is that we can discuss the phenomenon.
Yes,
You know,
correct. And that's what interests me, discussing the phenomenon. I
sure.
agree.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, so
Well,
here, let me ask this, Toady. Let me ask you this. I would appreciate doing this again, and so just let me know whenever you've got footage or whatever. You're more than welcome back, and I'd love to see what you keep coming up with.
No, I absolutely will. It'd be good to look at some of your footage as well, because I quite like discussing some of this footage. It's nice to see footage. I know it's a bit boring sometimes for people because there's not a lot of woo-bar, there's not a lot of conclusions from it. But certainly I'm learning, right? And as you know, you've seen some of my other stuff, right? I like practical things. I'm a guy who likes practical stuff in first-hand experience because I value that. I think there's value in that. And I think these things are interesting like that. So the final thought is, how do you then, so this maybe not convinces you, but you find this strong evidence, the observations, right, of the fact that the Earth is not shaped in a certain way. How do you then square that with the other pieces of evidence? Do you sort of mean, is this the primary one for you? And then everything else is kind of people coming up with maths and other explanations? Because that's where I struggle with it, right? I've genuinely worked with satellites and timing of satellites and picking up signals from satellites, as you know. So I'm absolutely convinced, I know you'd say wrongly, that satellites exist. Yeah. Because I've done some work many years ago actually with them. And again, that's first-hand experience for me. So obviously that shapes my worldview. You haven't had that experience, so I don't expect you to have that view. But when you put all the other things together, how do you break that down, Travis?
I do think that there's a common denominator that has to be established. I think all of those secondary and tertiary questions, like I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, but I don't address satellites. I don't address the moon. I don't address the sun. Those are all things that we can talk about, but I think that there is something that if we don't get down to the common denominator, we really can't move past that. So the behavior of water, the mechanics of water, what we understand, to me, that really is the bottom line. That really is for me. So in one of my videos, I do this walk down the shoreline, right? So I zoom in on the proximate shoreline, and I make the declaration that I believe that from my feet to that shoreline, which is a mile away, the water is level. That is, that the shoreline and my feet are on the same level. And if we move down the shoreline is not slowly dipping away from us. It's level the entire way. And then as you move farther and farther and farther, that's just simply the same principle as you extend. To me, that is so basic and so simple. And that's really where I start.
So question on that then. Have you seen the video that I did, and it's probably the second half of it, or other ones that he's done, the Jesse Kalowski, where we take a theodolite and we put it at both ends of quite a small lake, actually, similar to the Dorney one, but a little bit longer, I think it is. And then we don't assume anything, by the way. We start with no assumptions at all, right? Which is a really good place to start. We get level, and we assume, so first assumption is we assume water is level, right? And we're going to test that. So we assume water is level, like you say, because, at small distances, it's definitely level, right? So we assume it's level. We assume it's level across the lake. And then we take both ends and we use those theodolites and we sight to both theodolites. So again, we're up off the water. So we're getting out of not all the effects, by the way, but some of the effects. I would argue probably most of them, because if you see the videos, there really isn't a lot of distortion in them. And then we sight both ways, i.e. from our level that we've established from the water, right? If it's flat, then obviously our sightings should both match. Our sightings don't match. There's a discrepancy, and obviously discrepancy is proportionate to what we expect to find. When we calculate it at the end, we don't start with that assumption. I find that quite strong. It would be good to understand. And by the way, when you look at the pictures, the water does look level, like you say, looks level. But obviously then we take some measurements and then we find...
And where's this Where's this record?
So that is on. It's the second part. It's on my channel because I've only got 3 videos. So you
Okay.
can find it
Okay.
very
So
easily.
that. Okay. I'll just look on your channel. Okay.
Yeah, it's called surveying or something. But you want to see the second bit because the beginning bit's all about what I did with CERN, and it's a load of stuff about sort of me and the context of me and the context of surveying actually, which you can skip that bit. It's quite a long video. The second half, and it'd be good to talk to you about it at some point.
Okay.
Because for me, which is why I picked it, by the way, I looked at it at a lot of depth. There's measurements and stuff there, but you'll get the idea very quickly because I do some diagrams of what we're doing. And it's definitely one worth looking at because if you looked at the pictures, you go, yeah, it's like you say, you'd say, oh, I can guarantee that's flat. It looks flat. I can see right across it. I can see the bit the other side. It's, and then you do some measurements. And that's where things like that I find interesting. Yeah, very interesting. And it's a way of getting out of the effects of minimizing the kind of things that we're seeing here in these types of observations because you're going up a bit higher. But yeah, anyway, it's been great speaking.
Yeah, Toady, thanks so much. Hey, listen, what's the background on your icon, the lion?
My star sign. So
Okay.
it's an image that I got, and actually I had to then change it because I realized I was using a copyrighted image. So probably no one's noticed, but it's actually changed. So if you see any of my earlier stuff, you'll see the non-copyrighted, the copyrighted version. Yeah, so I've changed it. It's just a star sign. Leo is it's always been resonant. Yeah,
Fantastic.
He's not a bit cross, doesn't he? He looks a bit angry, like he's constipated or something.
He's just very serious.
Yeah, exactly. He is very serious, isn't he?
Yeah.
But if you look at the earlier one, he's actually less serious. But he became more serious when I turned him into a non-copyrighted one. But he's got the ears sticking out, which makes him a little bit fun as well, right? So he does look a bit angry, doesn't he? I agree. But that's and the Mona Lisa with you. What's the always fascinated by the Mona Lisa, Mandela effect around the Mona Lisa?
So yeah, when I first came into wanting to promote or produce YouTube material, I was trying to think of what image I would choose, and at the time I was thinking about perspective and horizon, and that the Mona Lisa has both in the image. Over her left shoulder is the horizon, and by her right shoulder is perspective. So you have those two different contrasts, and then you have her wry little smile, and I thought she knows that the horizon is flat, and she knows that perspective is a key to understanding all these things. So.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. Right, I get that. So, do you know that La Gioconda, which is of course what you're referring to, the Mona Lisa, is because I did a bit of art history back in the day. You know that people claim that the smile has changed. Have you looked at the Mandela effect around?
I've heard that stuff. Mandela, it's entertaining for me, and you can take
it very seriously, like flat Earth. If you look at it, it's a very similar, I would argue, sort of outlook. Yeah, I'm not going to say mindset, but outlook. That they really believe this stuff. I'm not convinced that she's changed. She looks like the picture you've got here looks like the one I'm used to. It's that sort of enigmatic smile.
Right.
It's a sort of a smile, but it's a bit of a smirk too.
Yep.
You know, it's a knowing smile. Certainly, I agree.
Yep.
And her eyes are knowing, and she doesn't look changed. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean, these Mandela things are, again. So I like those phenomenon, not because I like the Mandela effect, but again, I think, and we can talk some other time about Mandela effects. I think they're probably false memory that we create. And I've been convinced about certain things. There's normally one for everyone that gets them, and they go, no.
Yeah. Sure.
The thing that interests me mostly, by the way, is where people so they go. Good examples like King Tut, right? Apparently now has 2 things. The King Tut, the classic picture of Tutankhamun.
I can imagine. Yeah, from what I remember, you're talking about like the headpiece, the
gold headpiece. Exactly. Yeah. So if you look at the head bit at the top, you will see that now there is 2 things. I think there's an asp and some other. I think it's a vulture or something. So there's like a bird and an asp. Yeah, I think it's an asp. Anyway, so there's a snake and a bird right now, which Upper and Lower Egypt, right, symbols of. But apparently, a lot of people don't remember that and say, no, there was only ever the asp. There was only ever the snake on its headdress, right? Now, I don't know what's in your memory. And obviously I've blown it now by telling you. But it's very interesting. You look at it now and you see, there are 2 things there. probably if I'd been asked, I just remember the snake. Now,
Yeah.
has it changed?
I
So these are
wouldn't.
quite.
I wouldn't have guessed. I would have been like, I have no clue. I don't remember.
But you see, the interesting thing is, if you found someone who in the 80s, let's say 90s, did a school project on King Tut and they drew it,
Yeah.
they would have paid a lot of attention to it. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I did.
I'm sure
didn't,
there's
by the way.
somebody that's got it in a box
That's what-
somewhere up in their attic.
Exactly, or someone who modelled it or something, or made
Yeah.
it as a school thing. Now they would then go, oh no, actually it was always there or not. And they're the interesting people to find, people who've really looked at something super closely. Because I think most of us just look in a casual way, don't we? We see images around and we just take them for granted. So yeah, that's for me the interesting thing on the Mandela effect. Right, I'll leave
All
it
right,
there.
Toady.
I'll let you get on with your day. Really nice chatting, and speak to everyone later. Cheers.
I
Bye.
look forward to the next time. Thanks so much. All right, everybody. How's it going out there? I have to go in for a random drug screening this morning, so I'm not going to be able to spend more time. I would invite somebody in and chat and whatnot, but I want to try to work on some stuff that I have have in the back of my mind and get that done. So anything, let's see, I don't know. I mean, you guys have been talking this whole time, so thanks for being here, Gleam, Derek, and I think John C. is left. Danielle's out there. Check Skype later. Okay, thank you. And yeah, Maria was here. And yeah, great. Thanks so much for being here, guys. And yeah, let's see. I don't know. No, I'm not going to get distracted. So let's. I have no idea what to do right now. Close out, right? Thank you so much for tuning into The Plain Truth, Rethinking the Curve. This has been an episode of From Our Perspective with Toady UK. And I'm your host, Travis Finley. Till next time.